how would you define supply chain management? What is your understanding of supply chain management? Based on your work experience, when you use the term supply chain at your work, how do you use it? Uh, what are some of the obstacles, challenges you hear about when you are using this type of terminology at your workplace? Anything on that, if you can say what that is about, and then we can see how our discussion can go on that. Generally speaking, essentially speaking, supply chain management is basically all the activities which are there from start to end. So let's say that you are making some product. Where are you going to source the raw material from, the ingredients? Where are they coming from? Who are the suppliers? What is their credibility? Who should you give your order to? What are some of the metrics you are looking at when you are deciding uh, when you are deciding who is going to take your order? um, what is their reputation in the market? Do they deliver on time, and so on? In terms of raw materials, what are different options you have in the market? Which country you are thinking to bring your raw material from? uh, some friends were talking about capability and capacity in the earlier discussion. So what is their capacity to deliver on time? As a manufacturer, what is your future goals? How do you want to expand? If you expand, your current supplier will be able to give you or meet your demand, or you will have to diversify your suppliers. What will be some of the challenges you will face if you start diversifying your suppliers? Will you face any issues, for example, in quality, because your raw material is coming from different suppliers? So is that something which can happen? Consistency issues, maybe that is something you would want to think about. Your in-house capacity, capability in terms of various things which we have been doing, for example, forecasting, design of the product, uh, customer demand, customer preferences, how they will change or they can change, and they can have some impact on your supply chain. Introduction of some new type of technology, introduction of some new type of raw materials in the market, which going to fundamentally disrupt the previous way your customer was thinking. They want something new now, and your competition has delivered that. But in your warehouse, you have you have some things which are maybe redundant now, because the consumer is going to something which your competition has offered at a more comfortable price, comfortable design, those type of things. You can link it with our previous discussions, where our friend was giving some example of bottles, how the bottles became redundant, and he was giving us some figures. Lot of loss for the, not necessarily loss, they will use the bottles in some other way, but yes, it is a loss in some way. So essentially all the things in the supply chain. So I was talking from the back end, front end, maybe like the customers. Once you sell your product, your service, various things you would want to do with the customer. For example, give them some type of customer service, return products, goods. What is your policy about that? What happens to the return goods, wastage? So essentially speaking, all the activities uh, which take place in terms of start to finish, for any product, any services, they are part of supply chain management, the way I understand it. But definitely you can read the book definitions, how the book is explaining, and take some insight from there. But anyways, I wanted to ask you. So going back to the question which I raised, tell me something about supply chain, how you understand it, how you use it at work. Have you read anything on supply chain in terms of when you are listening news stories in terms of coronavirus, COVID-19, how it has disrupted supply chain? Um, Even simple things like, things you procure for yourself, you can link it with inventory management of your household items. You can link it with anything, any way you want. So please give me some ideas on supply chain, and I would see how we can build the discussion on that. Please go ahead.
I was reading an article last week that spoke about the supply chains being under stress, and that for the future, companies should really implement a stress test for, especially for those companies that are in the critical industries, so that when you have major disruptions such as this COVID-19 pandemic, we're able to still have all the supply chains, all the companies function as they should, or minimize the disruption that has been caused. So in terms of this the stress test and what we have seen because of the COVID-19, it has uncovered quite a number of flaws. We don't have the amount of PPEs that we should. There is a shortage of ventilators. You have countries such as the US that they are actually blocking other countries who would have purchased ventilators because of the short supply and the increase in the demand of that product. And of course, you also have to look at when you do have that demand and you're not able to fill the demand, how long will it take for you to recover? So you have persons in various countries that because of the lack of ventilators, they have died. So the supply chain as we know it now, and the disruptions that has been caused to just daily living, I think that is something that companies really need to look at in more in detail, and that's what the article was about.
Excellent examples, and I'm delighted. Like our friend is reading things which are really important to understand what is happening in the industry. So I hope all of you are reading things like that. So based on what Kamla is saying, she's talking about essentially two major things. One is stress test of the supply chain, and she's mentioning how these times, pandemic times, has made us aware of the loopholes which were always there in the supply chain, but somehow we were not maybe getting time to sort them out, or maybe we were thinking that we can get away without looking at those loopholes. But look at this, whatever is happening, especially Kamla is giving example of supply chain management in health industry. uh, there are countries which, and you can do some research on that, there are countries which have on paper, they have ventilators on paper. So they have these ventilators which they have been putting on paper based on their previous years, because every health ministry would be given some budget, and from there they would be telling on the paper only that they have been buying ventilators and stuff like this. So but they were not buying it, of course. That was corruption, which is a problem in all developing countries. uh, if you say what distinguish a developed country from developing country, in developed country there is less corruption, in the developing country there is more corruption. That is one thing which anyways. So on the paper they had these equipment and everything, and now when they are looking for it, they are finding that no one really bought it, that money is gone, someone has taken that money, and only on paper they have done the paperwork that okay, we have these ventilators and so on. Yes, this is how, and how, look, think about the challenges it can really bring: dishonesty, corruption, what impact it can have on various things. But the supply chain management on healthcare, at least as Kamla was explaining us, that has really it is really showing us what are some of the things which were totally not right, especially in developing countries. But then again, developed countries are also having similar type of problems of supply chain management. So want to show you couple of stories, trying to link it with how Kamla has tried to mention stress tests and supply chain management issues in health and other things which I have been looking at. So this is very interesting story. World Economic Forum, very reliable. Here is how global supply chains will change after COVID-19. So Kamla was mentioning some of the flaws, loopholes in the supply chain. So now countries, companies, manufacturers, service providers, BPOs, all these type of different type of business models, they are going to see what they need to do differently going forward. So this article is about that. Want to highlight, for example, please read this in your own time, but I can highlight couple of things. Maybe this, for example, diversification of sourcing, and digitization. These are the two main things will be the key to building stronger, smarter supply chains and ensuring a lasting recovery. Yeah, so lasting recovery is somehow linked with the stress test which Kamla was mentioning. So diversifying sourcing, maybe that is one thing. uh, Supply chain management would be looking more in detail, and digitization. Yeah, these are two things. Earlier, maybe companies were not really looking at diversifying sourcing, because once you have too many suppliers, that it is good, but it comes with a lot of challenges also, because sometimes some suppliers would not like that you are also ordering your raw material from someone else, which is their competition. Yeah, so you have to think about those things also. uh, yeah, so please look into this one in your own time, of course. Supply chain management could shift digitally post COVID-19. Yeah. So as Kamla was explaining us that in supply chain management, a lot of problems are becoming more clearer after COVID-19. So one of the solution to those problems is maybe supply chain management could shift digitally post COVID-19. So a lot of digitization is going to happen in all spheres of business. And of course, supply chain management is very broad, and it will take care of all different issues. Let's look at what it says. The trade pro- protection, protection. Countries give protection to some businesses. Trade industry give protection to some industries, and export restrictions. Countries put some type of export restriction to, for example, to give more leverage to their own entrepreneurs, to give more power or more opportunities to their small business sector, and so on. So countries and companies do that. Trade protection and export restriction approach. This has to change to a cooperative one to restore trust in global supply chain. So more cooperation. So earlier it was trade protection, export restriction, other things which you will see in some other courses like international business management. So now in the future, more cooperative one. Yeah, so togetherness, collectiveness, cohesion, that type of a thing is going to happen in the supply chain, maybe. But again, this looks good on paper. We are not really sure if more cooperation is going to come or not, because right now we are in the pandemic, right now we are in the situation, so we are thinking like this. But once we come out of this, we might not be thinking like that. We might go back to our past behavior. This is, when you, it is just like you are in trouble, and you are like in the bad time, and you are going to mosque or church, or you are praying to God, oh God, please save me this time, I won't do it again. But then, afterwards, you somehow, generally speaking, you go back to your old habits. So maybe that is going to happen in business also, but not in every countries are going to behave differently. Businesses are going to behave differently. Definitely it has a lot to do with the leadership, because leadership is going to decide what is the strategy way forward. But at least on the paper, people who do some research, who do some work on this, they are talking about more cooperation. And you can see this, the cooperation between, for example, to get ventilators and masks and so on, between competing countries, like for example Russia and USA. I was reading some things on that they are helping each other. Other countries who would not be very cooperative, they are helping each other in terms of, you have mask, you give us mask. We have gear for the medical staff, their clothing, we can give you that, and that type of cooperation. So in some ways, the countries have come together also. In some ways, businesses have come together also. Yeah. So think about that, and this is very interesting. I'm very interested always in trust. I think that is one great topic for anyone who is studying business. Trust. So, restoring trust. If more cooperation is there, restore trust and maintain the benefits global trade growth has brought over the last 2 decades. So they are essentially saying, if there is more cooperation, if there is more harmonious way of running business, then maybe we can take advantage of the progress supply chain management has made in last decade or two. But again, businesses are there for to make profit. At the end of the day, every business is going to compete with other business to stay alive. uh, but that strategy is not good, especially in these times, like when you have like some disasters and these type of things, then everyone has to come on board. It is just like, government makes different policies, but there should be some policies which are consistent, no matter which color, which party comes on power. Generally speaking, in most of the countries where democracy is, generally speaking, it is two party system. Generally speaking, it is very hard to for the third party to come and do something. There are some countries where this has happened, because both of two parties were selected multiple times, and they were corrupting. They were doing bad practices, corruption multiple times. So people had just lost their hope after, like, 20, 30, 40 years, and then there was some other option and they voted for it, for that option. So third party emerge in some countries. One example is Pakistan, where this happened. But generally speaking, it is two party system. So in that, of course, both parties have their own way of running the government, the policies and everything. But there should be some policies which are consistent, because businesses like consistency. They don't like to be surprised. They don't like some new policies coming in, because they want to plan for a longer period of time, 5 year, 10 year. They want to invest in various technologies and so on, various human capabilities, skills. So they want to think about those things. So supply chain is very much linked with this, as we are talking about trade protection, export restriction, and so on. So one party comes in and they have X export restriction. Next party comes after 5 years, 4 years, they have Y export restriction. So these type of things can have some challenges. So think about that. Supply chain priorities and COVID-19. Yeah. This is again very interesting source, supply chain management review. I think you should go on that website and spend some time. Just you don't have to read what I am showing you. You just go on the website and just scan through it and try to look for something which excites you, which you want to read. It does not matter what you read, because everything is linked with supply chain, because it is supply chain management review website. Very nice website. So just look into some things, maybe your own industry, how it is going to be affected, how the supply chain management in your industry would be affected, just to have an understanding of what is happening. Some of the charts, uh, we can quickly scan through. So for example, percentage of organizations achieving 2019 goals. So these are some of the goals: customer service improvement in customer service, cost saving, improvement in sales, improvement in customer satisfaction, inventory. So this is how it has been in the in the last year 2019 for the select sample which they have for this research which they conducted. Supply chain priorities. Yeah, what are the priorities of different supply chains? So in 2019 it was customer service, 43, just followed by cost saving and sales, equal 41.2%, 41.2%. And if you think about it, cost saving and sales, they have some link also. uh, the more your sales are, the more you can benefit from economies of scale and economies of scope, and from that you can also save cost and so on. You can look it into more detail if you are interested in that. I just want to scan and highlight a couple of pointers. Look at this table: top obstacles to improving supply chain processes. Yeah, let's take a moment. Please take a moment to look at what you are seeing on the screen. I think this is important. Top obstacles to improving supply chain processes. What are the top obstacles? You really want to understand this. Maybe this is not very relevant to your business or your country or whatever, but still, regulations, requirements make change difficult. Regulation requirements. Please link it with what I said a while ago about two-party system, different governments. One orange comes, they have their own; red comes, they have their own requirements; green comes, they have their own agenda. All have their own. All love their country. No one has, generally speaking, all wants their country to. All parties want their country to grow. In any country, they have their own way, but generally speaking, majority of the people, not all of course, but majority of the people, they want to do something good for the country. They want to be remembered, like after years they want to be remembered that this was the prime minister and this happened and whatever. Of course there will be some corruption and something, but generally speaking, in the overall scheme of things, no one wants to be remembered as a bad guy. Even Hitler, if you look at his biography and all those things, if you ask him, he was saying that whatever I was doing it for the benefit of my country. He had his own ways. But anyways, look at this: top obstacles to improving supply chain processes. So regulations, change in that, big issue, 46%. Lack of support for collaboration across functions and externally. Yeah, and think about it at your workplace. If you have, think about different departments at your work and try to reflect. Is it easy for you guys to collaborate with each other? If you are in the HR department and you want some information from sales, how easy it is for you to get it from them just by writing an email or walking to their department? Will they give it to you, or you have to write to your boss and they have to write someone else and they want to know why you want to use it and all those type of things? Now, I am not saying in any way that you write an email to your next department and they should send you all the information. I'm not saying that, of course. Data is very important going forward. It is going to become even more important, and companies want to protect it and so on. But still, how hard it is or how easy it is, that is going to have some impact on the collaboration and so on. You can think about that. Technology gets in the way, 40%. Technology, yeah, technology. And we are seeing this, as we are working from home. Technology, sometimes it gets in the way, because it is now, which technology would be more suitable for people who would be working from home. And I'm talking again in terms of data sensitivity, because there are some jobs where they don't want them to you open the data on your own servers, on your own laptops, because when you are at work, somehow your servers are protected and so on and so forth. Even if you are working from home and using work server, you are putting some passwords and some things. How secure is your own network, your own Wi-Fi? Someone can just breach into your own Wi-Fi, your home Wi-Fi. That might not be that is not going to be as secure as if you are working for Digicel and you are working for Digicel from the corporate office. Of course, the protection is more than when you are working from home using your own internet and so on. That can be a challenge. People can hack it relatively easier. So think about that. Too much change, too much change. Think about what I said earlier. Businesses want continuity. Businesses want a surety. They don't like things to change up and down all the time. That it brings anxiety. It brings anxiety in the people. Even in small situations, it brings anxiety. Uh, in business, it is all about confidence. How you create confidence. If you change if you say something today and tomorrow you change it, it can have some impact on the businesses. Relationship can go bad, and in business it is all about relationship, stuff like that. Limited workforce engagement, engagement, motivation. A worker who was not motivated before coronavirus, who was not engaged with their job, who was not really interested. After COVID-19, is their engagement going to go up? Ask yourself, look around. They were not already interested, motivated in their supply chain, in their whatever role they were playing in the supply chain. Now they have excuse. Anything happens, they are going to just say, oh, internet was not working, this happened, this happened, whatever. Right in the meeting, they can just disconnect. Maybe the internet is working fine and they can just disconnect and, oh, glitch happened, something happened. But and every time it happens, don't think that that is the reason. Let's say something happens to internet right now, and I have to cancel this session, and you guys say, oh, he just disconnected the class. Yeah. But this can happen, because if someone was not interested earlier, they can make some excuse and try to do these type of things. So workforce engagement, it is 35%, but if you look at the top one, clearly 46%, the regulation requirement change, that is very interesting. These are, and please reflect again, obstacles to improvement, obstacles. Yeah. Okay, let's look at this one. Interesting. This is interesting article. I think you should spend it. It is not long. It is going to take like, if you will read it, it will take like 5-10 minutes. I don't think it is going to take more than that. It's very short. But look at this chart. This is again very interesting. Organizations 2020 priorities for supply chain planning. Yeah, 2020 priorities. What do they want to do? Look at this top one. Implement new technologies and capabilities. Some friends were talking about capacity and capabilities in the earlier discussion also. Maybe you would want to link it with that. But look at this one. Implement new technologies. Identify best practices. 62%. Standardize processes. Standardization. What standardization does? It minimizes the cost. It creates less ambiguity. People know that what needs to be done at what time. Standardize the process. It is easy to learn if it is standardized. Think about that. Evaluate and compare performance through benchmarking. Yeah, that is interesting topic to look at, benchmarking. In some other courses you will look at it, because in productivity and quality management we look at benchmarking. But you can reflect in your own businesses, how your businesses are benchmarking and so on. Improve collaboration and communication. Improve forecasting accuracy. So please look at this word, how they have They have not written forecasting. They are saying improve forecasting accuracy. That is very good. I like that the way they have put it. And again, to reiterate the point when we were discussing forecasting, forecasting is forecasting. It is not 100%. If it comes close, very good. If it does not, it's forecasting. It cannot be 100%. It can be 100%, but it will be very costly to make it 100% accurate. Every time you forecast to make it 100% accurate, it is possible, as we discussed in forecasting discussion. It is possible, but it just becomes very expensive. So companies don't want to, they want to minimize the cost and so on also. So improve forecasting accuracy. So they are saying that make that more accurate, a little bit more accurate. They are not talking about 100% accuracy. Shorten cycle time, of course. Very nice tables they have. Please make note of this this article. Very interesting. Organizations priority areas for innovation. Of course, you know, if you want to, as Kamla was mentioning, stress test. So how are you going to, you know, whatever loopholes you find in the stress test, how are you going to get rid of those loopholes? By being more innovative, yeah, bringing in new ideas, trying new ideas, failing in new ideas, and learning from your mistakes. All those type of things is going to happen. So look at this one: automation and digitization. Needless to, you know, elaborate on this. Very clear: automation, digitization, operational and process innovation. Some analytics they are talking about: product and service innovation, improving collaboration, of course, talent acquisition and retention. Of course, the competition for good talent is going to increase. Just like, you know, jobs, people are going to lose jobs. Same time as people lose jobs, some people get multiple offers because they become more important. As people lose jobs, there are some people who become more important because of the skills they have, because of their capabilities, and because of their uh, attitude and their, you know, their skill set, which they would be using going forward to manage multiple roles in their job. So their job becomes more wanted by competition. So as jobs go down, if you have the right skills, right attitude, you get multiple offers also. But again, yes, those type of people are very limited. Of course, in any industry, not everyone reach at that level. Yeah. So very good, very good one. Please make note: supply chain priorities and COVID-19. Even if you take out COVID-19, just if you are looking for supply chain priorities, this article gives you a great insight on that. But anyways, I don't want to speak too much. Yes, so please go ahead. Tell us something about supply chain management, and, you know, based on what I have been saying, what stuck with you. If you don't agree with something, if you have a different point of view, please come forward, say that, whatever you want to say something on supply chain management. Anything you want to, based on your experience, based on your work experience, based on your reading, anything triggered in your mind based on what we have been talking about. Please go ahead. What we are talking about. Okay, we have been talking about some technologies. Even in the first session when we just started, we were talking about various technologies. If you guys remember, this term came up, which you are seeing over here, blockchain. When we are talking about AI, 5G, and so on, and I asked you guys to have a look at what blockchain is and so on. If you have not, this is good time to maybe find some time in your own space and look into blockchain, what it is. This is an interesting story. Revolutionizing supply chain management with blockchains, using blockchains. Yeah, you don't necessarily have to read this one, particularly this one, but just run some searches on blockchain or technologies and supply chain management. See what comes up in your area of interest, and maybe look into that. So easily you will find articles which will explain you what are various technologies. You can look for like how 5G is going to have impact on supply chain, how artificial intelligence is going to have impact on the supply chain, new materials, uh, because engineers are always looking for new materials, scientists looking for new solutions, uh, new type of tastes people are looking at trying to manufacture. So you can look into that. This is interesting one. What is blockchain's role in supply chain and so on. They spend some time in. Yeah, but I want you to do your own search and look into this. I can briefly look into a couple of things, like for example tracking. Blockchain is a very nice technology. It tracks where things are coming from. Cost reduction, we spoke about that. Of course, cost reduction is going to happen. This one is very interesting, establishing trust, you know, because technologies are sometimes more reliable than human element. Sometimes that happens. So trust can be improved, can be ensured using these technologies. So please read on to some technologies of your choice and how they will impact supply chain. Not just supply chain, other things which we have been discussing or we will discuss in future discussions. Generally speaking, technologies, generally speaking, IT, how that is going to change your industry. I think that is very significant. Even if you have some job and you are all comfortable with the job, you never know when the job gets disrupted. You never know. You never know. Uh, for example, if I were in charge of the school, business school or something like that, I would have fundamentally disrupted the style of these whatever we are happening. I would have saved a lot of money. Find courses, find recordings from the top professors of supply chain management, of forecasting, get access, make a portal, post everything on that, uh, negotiate with those professors to come for 1 hour uh, per 2 weeks to answer questions, any questions you guys have. So in your own time, you will go through the readings, the videos, everything. They will explain you what things are. So for example, supply chain management, they will give you the lecture in 30 minutes, 40 minutes, what supply chain management is all about, and then show you some postings like I'm showing you some news articles and stuff. And this is very new. For example, this one is 7th of May 2020. What is blockchain role in supply chain? Yeah, very new. And the source is also not very bad. Supply chain digital website. Yeah, say they keep on posting stuff on supply chain. Anyway, so you look at those things. So you do asynchronous, and then for one hour, 1.5 hour, 45 minutes, the professor comes in the room like this, and you ask them questions, whatever you have to ask, in terms of understanding the concepts, and so on. There is no need of people who are generally people like me who are conducting the session. I would get rid of them, almost all of them, and do this. And yeah, so and then it is not very hard to find some good professors who would voluntarily do the thing. It is not hard. You just have to sit down and work and write emails, and it is time consuming, it is tedious, of course, but there are many people who would just do it to help out, especially in these times when people are going through COVID-19 and so on and so forth. But think about how think about how the the value would increase for you guys. I'm talking about someone who would teach you supply chain management, who has written 5 6 books on supply chain management, who has published 10 12 articles on supply chain management in leading research publications. This is possible. And that 1 month where there was disruption, no classes, I would do all this in that 1 month. That's it. And of course, everything what I'm saying, it might not work, there would be some challenges, uh, but I'm sure that the quality is going to improve substantially, the experience is going to increase substantially for you guys, and the cost will go down for University of the West Indies. And you would be boasting around saying, oh, I had supply chain management class from professor at Harvard or MIT or whatever. So that is what is supply chain management in education, how to improve supply chain management in education in COVID time. This was a great opportunity. That 1 month was a great opportunity. And if you look around, many businesses have taken advantage of this situation. Many businesses. There are companies which I remember I was showing you something, I think last week or the week before, where these top companies, they have started manufacturing things related with helping COVID-19 and so on. These top companies, companies which are automotive companies, which make cars or machinery or other type of equipment, they have switched and they are making other products and so on. Anyways, guys, please say something on supply chain management. I'm not used to giving lectures. I get very bored. So please participate in some discussion. Say something on supply chain management. What is your understanding, and then we see what is going to happen. Please go ahead. Hello, guys. No thoughts on supply chain management. Is it a hard topic to discuss? Any example on supply chain management? Any experience? What are some of the challenges you face when you are procuring some material or something for your work? How can any issue in supply chain management can be improved? Anything on that? You guys can hear me, or there is some, I'm not even sure if you can hear me or not. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you, sir.
Thanks, Kamla. So everyone, please, the question is, please explain what is your understanding of supply chain management? Please give some example of supply chain management. I can only proceed once you guys give some examples. Otherwise, I don't think I can proceed. Yes, guys, any example is coming for supply chain management? What is your understanding of supply chain management?
Sir?
Yes, Sherry, please go ahead.
All right. I was thinking about the shipment of the COVID test, the test kits that Jamaica was supposed to get the other day due to the shortage on the island. That was blocked by the US, so we were unable to retrieve that order. I'm not sure if that's like with supply, if that affects the supply chain management in terms of the shortage of the test kits. And
Hmm.
also, there's a shortage in the US with like the toilet paper, and Jamaica last week I think did their first export of toilet paper from the island in the to the US. So I'm not sure if that's
Mm,
in
mm.
relation
Thanks,
to supply
thanks
chain
very much.
management.
Thanks very much, Shelly. Absolutely, absolutely correct. And all these, think about this, guys. All these type of shortage issues that is essentially coming because of some disruption in supply chain, because there are various links and in supply chain. So let's say I am ordering something from Shelly. Shelly is getting that from Sasha. Sasha is getting that from O'Shane. O'Shane is getting that from Kamla. So if there is any disruption in anywhere throughout the supply chain as the consumer, if I am the consumer of the product, that is going to be disrupted. So excellent example. So if you think about it, it is not very hard. So please spend some time and thinking about these type of examples. Of course, they are not maybe important for your final exam or something because the layout is different for the exam, but just for your own understanding of supply chain, these type of things are very, very important. Thanks, Shelly, for the examples. And let's spend some time looking at quickly scanning through the slides. So supply chain management is the integration of the activities that procure materials, services, transform them into intermediate goods and final products and deliver them to customers. So if you look at this example as we were talking about earlier, this is kind of talking about everything together. This one I liked. Competition is no longer between the companies; it is between supply chains. Yeah, so it is not company. Whose supply chain is better? So the better your supply chain is, the less would be delays and these type of things which Shelley explained us. If your supply chain is robust, you won't have those type of issues. uh, Even if it is robust, sometimes you can have these type of challenges, especially in the current environment because of this pandemic. But the idea is to minimize those those loopholes, minimize the time between delivery from one supplier to the next one and so on, making it consistent, the quality is consistent, the timing is consistent, so that the end consumer can have the product service on time. So think about these items like our friend Shelly explained the shortage of toilet rolls and stuff like that. Think about a commodity like toilet roll, the toilet roll A, toilet roll B, toilet roll C. More or less, yes, you can argue that the quality of toilet roll is different, and some people like different texture. Some people would like different type of aesthetic feel when you touch the toilet paper and so on. People have their own preferences. That is why there is a lot of variety. If you go in the grocery stores, you will see a lot of different varieties of toilet papers. But in these times, current environment, maybe people are not going to care about the quality and aesthetics. They just want to use it because it is kind of essential item for some people. So which company is going to do well? Which toilet company is going to do well? A, B, or C? It is the one which has the better supply chain, because a better supply chain would mean that you will be getting the things on time and so on. So as Shelly explained, that issue in US and other countries also, The better your supply chain is, the less would be the delays, the better would be the customer satisfaction and so on. So you can think about that. In your own time, you are going to, based on what we have said in our discussion, you are going to, in your own time, you're going to look at the slides and make some linkages, maybe look at some of the news stories on supply chain in the current environment, maybe scan through the book and try to have some understanding of what are some of the things which are important in terms of supply chain management. As you scan through them, keep an eye on the leadership style, keep an eye on the infrastructure of the suppliers, keep an eye on your own infrastructure, keep an eye on the changing consumer demand. Of course, keep a keen eye on technology, 5G, AI, these type of things, skill set, future demand. Keep an eye on future demand. So if you have some idea of these things, link it with the previous discussions where we were talking about various things. For example, design. You can link design in the supply chain and so on. Important activities, what are those? You can look in these suppliers, account payable, warehousing, order fulfillment, sharing customers, forecasting, so essentially everything in the, from start to end, whatever it takes to start the product to make it finish product, everything is important. uh, Example, they have given some examples in the book and slides. I would say you should look at the examples like Kamla mentioned: hospitals, health industry, supply chain issue in that. I think that is very good. If you just run a simple Google search, you are going to find so many stories, because so many countries are having issue with the supply chain management in the health. uh, Doctors are dying, people who are, nurses, health staff, they are dying because they don't have the equipment and so on. And many times it is not because that the country does not have the money. Many times it is just the product is short. So I think that those type of examples of supply chain we should look at. Of course, the book and the slides are old. They are just, give us some idea what are some of the things we should think about. And please participate in the discussion wherever you get some chance, some idea comes in your mind about supply chain or the slides you are looking at. Please tell us if that happens. Yeah, react to sudden changes in parts availabilities, new type of parts, 3D printing, please. 3D 3D printing, for example, that is interesting one. In terms of parts availabilities, how parts availability is going to get disrupted because of these new ways of making or manufacturing or producing parts and those type of things. Currency rates, fluctuation, different economies, um, you should think about that. Uh, this is just a second year course. In your third year course, you would maybe look into, other courses which will go in detail about economics related courses, um, marketing related courses, distribution and so on. You should be able to get a better hang of these things when you do them. And then in the forthcoming slides, they are talking about various, they have segmented various areas in supply chain management. Essentially it is about trying to understand that how you can minimize the time, how you can, for example, Kamla was mentioning wastage of time, wastage of material, wastage of resources in some previous discussion. So you can link it with that, because essentially you are trying to minimize those things in the supply chain. The better you can do without compromising the quality, without compromising the trust of the consumer, the better is your chance. The relationship between you and your supplier, that becomes very important. Personal relationship, networking, trust, these things become very important to make the supply chain run better. Always on the lookout for new ideas, innovation, new materials. Always understanding what the competition is doing, that is very important, your competition. Who are they sourcing their products from? What are the new ideas under development? Uh, you want to have some keen eye on that, so you can always upgrade your supply chain. So it is a constant process. Companies, uh, keep an eye on. This is an interesting topic in supply chain: make or buy. So in the supply chain, various things are there, various products, various services. Which ones you should do yourself? Which ones you should outsource? Can anyone give any example of any outsourcing activity, please, based on your experience, based on whatever, if someone can give some outsourcing example from your business or your observation, that would be nice if someone can do that. But of course, I'm not going to wait. I don't think you guys are in the talking mode today, so I will just continue. But if something comes to your mind, please go ahead and tell us. So make or buy decision: what should you do yourself, what you should outsource. That is important. You can look at these details. uh, what is the, what are some of the reasons for making, why you should make it. Will lower the cost, you will own the copyright, you will know how the quality is, uh, you will have better control, you can do it whenever you want, you can stop it whenever you want, you have more like those type of controls. It is easy for you to make an upgrade, it is easy to inspect, it is easy to monitor. You will create a skill set. If you are good in making, you can also sell it to other people, not just make for yourself, make it for others also. Yeah, so for example, companies like Vicinco, they used to, uh, I'm not sure how much they are in the plastic now because of these bans and restriction. Please check what is their status, but they were making it for themselves also, plastics, and they were also selling it. Yeah, so both things they were doing, because of course they were good in that. They had economies of scale and scope, so you can think about that. Yeah, so but you can read the details in your own time. Reasons for buying: why you should not make it, why you should buy. You want to focus on the core activities, you want to focus on things which excite you, which are important. You don't want to do everything in the supply chain of your product or service. You don't want to do that. You don't want to overspread yourself and then you become very thin and you cannot really master some craft. So you want to focus on some core activities, and then maybe the other activities you can outsource or ask other peoples to make it for you. And you ask the people who have built some competency. So if they have some competency in that, they will be able to sell it to you at a lower cost, even at a lower cost than you would do it yourself. So for example, biscuits, snacks, many things which we consume from the local grocery stores, they come from other countries like Trinidad. Why we cannot make it on our own? What is the problem? uh, because even if we make it, the cost is more, and even if we import it from some other country, the cost is less. So at the end of the day, business is going to sell what costs less at a reasonable quality. Consumer wants to pay less. These slogans are very good: buy Jamaica and buy whatever, but at the end of the day, a consumer is going to buy what is more comfortable, convenient, affordable at a given price range. So those are some of the things which are considered when companies are looking at reason for buying outsourcing. Again, outsourcing, I think you can link it with the discussion which we had. Ethical issues in supply chain. Uh, the earlier few points Kamla gave us, when she said that many issues are being, they are being highlighted in the supply chain because of this pandemic and so on. They were like hiding earlier. Many of them are ethical related issues. The example I gave you about corruption and having the ventilators on the paper but not in the physical sense, That is example of ethical issues in supply chain. You can look at the finer details in your own time, please. Standardization, that is very important. Standardize everything in terms of even the get all the documentation. uh, Standardization is very important in supply chain management. Not just supply chain management, even when you are making a small product, even if it is one product or one service, standardization is the thing which is going to minimize the cost and so on. Think about these, these like when you have to eat, do you eat when you have to eat, do you make or do you buy? How do you make that decision? uh, well, you will make if you have time, if you have energy, if you have interest. If you don't have other things to do, you will make food yourself. If you are busy, you have work, you have exams, you have school, you have family, you have everything going on, and you have less time, then you will say I will buy. So you will maybe buy food. So when you are buying, you will see how much can I afford to pay. If I go in a restaurant and eat something, at least it is going to cost me maybe 3,000 Jamaican dollar. On the other hand, if I just go to Burger King, KFC, something like that, fast food, just like that, maybe 500, 600, 700, something like that, I can buy something reasonable on that. So, but what is the cost? Health cost, yeah. But look at how they manufacture. They standardize. Burger King, they have standardized the process. So that is why, because they have standardized, it is easy for them to bring the cost down at a reasonable price. You can buy, or you can think about patty. If that is even cheaper than the fast food patties or something other like that. Generally speaking, they would have standardized to bring the cost down, yeah, and easy for them to replicate. Same thing for parts in the car, parts of the laptop. Standardize the process. And in that standardizing the process, they always find how they can minimize the time to make the product, minimize the time to for the service. Same way you can think about Burger King, KFC. They minimize. As you come, you place the order, in just by the time you reach the window to collect, if you are drive through, the product is almost ready, or it is just coming out. Yeah. Of course it is not healthy, but just trying to explain standardization and stuff like that. Yeah, the issues between, if you should have more suppliers or you should have few suppliers, you should think of that in the discussion. I gave you some pointers, but you need to think about in your own time based on your. Of course, it has a lot to do with what type of business you have. Uh, in some businesses, you have to have multiple suppliers. In others, it is okay if you have just one supplier or two. In terms of management, trust. This is my favorite, but you can look at the other ones also. Again, in your own time, this is not anything hard. You should be able to get a hang of this. Electronic procurement. Yes, this is coming in big, especially nowadays. Advancements in technologies. Should not say advancement. More use of technology is making people do many things online, which they were not doing earlier. So now they are doing it online. So e-procurement is interesting to look at, but a lot of progress has happened in that. You should look into what are some of the challenges of supply chain Amazon is facing. I did not run that search. I should have, but I think it is good for you guys to understand, like these big companies like Amazon, successful companies. So just run some search, Amazon supply chain management issues, or just write supply chain management Amazon. I'm sure something is going to come up, and try to link it with the discussion and try to have some overall ideas. more importantly, you should think that how they are minimizing those challenges. We all know the challenges. We know the challenges. What the challenges would be. Similar challenges, the type of challenges we are facing at work, at school, similar challenges in supply chain also. But what are they doing to minimize those challenges? I think that is something which you should reflect on. So maybe they will standardize a lot of jobs as we were. Yes, Kamla, you want to say something? Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Just picking up on what Shelley had said with the company, I think it's Quality Incorporations that they did their first shipment to the US last week or about 2 weeks ago. This week in the news, Wisynco was featured as they have started making medical spacers out of plastic bottles. So this is they've entered in this new market because they have realized that there is a shortage of spacers and KPH for persons who have respiratory illnesses and they need to have these inhalers or these spacers. They have actually created just the plastic bottles, punching the holes at the bottom and having those bottles used as spacers. So this is a new supply chain now for KPH and of course for the other hospitals.
Excellent, and thank you very much for this. I'm loving this Vasinko example because I'm really very interested in that company. I think that is exciting place, and see what they are doing. Very good example, and I was not aware of this. And think about the possibilities, in the future. How even after uh, COVID-19, they would be maybe one of the pioneers in doing that in Jamaica or something like that. I don't know if that is true or not. I'm just thinking that they must be one of the new ones. So uh, that can be very interesting for their businesses. So as they might be losing some sales or something because of the restriction on plastic and so on, because of sustainable development and so on, environment friendly and government policies and so on, they are shifting into this. This is an opportunity for them to make something for these medical related stuff and so on. And they have the space, they have the things, they have the equipment. They can buy the equipment. uh, they can get their staff who is already into this production into some type of training, and it is very easy for them to switch. Relatively easy, I should not say very easy, relatively easy for them to switch than from someone else who would be building from scratch. So this is very interesting. Please look into that example. So Kamla gave us the name of the company which Shelly was talking, and Kamla also gave us the example of Vicinco. So just run a Google search Vicinco and what they are doing, and read on that. And don't just limit yourself to what is happening in Jamaica. Look across the globe what is happening, how various companies are going into manufacturing or producing medical related things, and how they are doing very well. They are doing exceptionally well, making good amount of money. Yes, Sherry, please go ahead.
All right. I was thinking about the shipment of the COVID test, the test kits that Jamaica was supposed to get the other day due to the shortage on the island. That was blocked by the US, so we were unable to retrieve that order. I'm not sure if that's like with supply, if that affects the supply chain management in terms of the shortage of the test kits. And
Mm.
also, there's a shortage in the US with like the toilet paper, and Jamaica last week I think did their first export of toilet paper from the island in the to the US. So I'm not
Mm.
sure if that's
Mm.
in
Mm.
relation
Thanks,
to supply
thanks
chain
very much.
management.
Thanks very much, Shelly. Absolutely correct. And all these, think about this, guys. All these type of shortage issues, that is essentially coming because of some disruption in supply chain, because there are various links and in supply chain. So let's say I am ordering something from Shelly. Shelly is getting that from Sasha. Sasha is getting that from O'Shane. O'Shane is getting that from Kamla. So if there is any disruption in anywhere throughout the supply chain, as the consumer, if I am the consumer of the product, that is going to be disrupted. So excellent example. So if you think about it, it is not very hard. So please spend some time in thinking about these type of examples. Of course, they are not maybe important for your final exam or something, because the layout is different for the exam, but just for your own understanding of supply chain, these type of things are very, very important. Thanks, Shelly, for the examples. And let's spend some time looking at quickly scanning through the slides. So supply chain management is the integration of the activities that procure materials, services, transform them into intermediate goods and final products, and deliver them to customers. So if you look at this example, as we were talking about earlier, this is kind of talking about everything together. This one I liked. Competition is no longer between the companies, it is between supply chains. Yeah, so it is not company. Whose supply chain is better? So the better your supply chain is, the less would be delays and these type of things which Shelley explained us. If your supply chain is robust, you won't have those type of issues. Uh, Even if it is robust, sometimes you can have these type of challenges, especially in the current environment because of this pandemic. But the idea is to minimize those those loopholes, minimize the time between delivery from one supplier to the next one, and so on, making it consistent, the quality is consistent, the timing is consistent, so that the end consumer can have the product, service on time. So think about these items, like our friend Shelly explained the shortage of toilet rolls and stuff like that. Think about a commodity like toilet roll. The toilet roll A, toilet roll B, toilet roll C. More or less, yes, you can argue that the quality of toilet roll is different, and some people like different texture. Some people would like different type of aesthetic feel when you touch the toilet paper, and so on. People have their own preferences. That is why there is a lot of variety. If you go in the grocery stores, you will see a lot of different varieties of toilet papers. But in these times, current environment, maybe people are not going to care about the quality and aesthetics. They just want to use it because it is kind of essential item for some people. So which company is going to do well? Which toilet company is going to do well? A, B, or C? It is the one which has the better supply chain, because a better supply chain would mean that you will be getting the things on time, and so on. So as Shelley explained, that issue in US and other countries also, the better your supply chain is, the less would be the delays, the better would be the customer satisfaction, and so on. So you can think about that. In your own time, you are going to, based on what we have said in our discussion, you are going to, in your own time, you're going to look at the slides and make some linkages, maybe look at some of the news stories on supply chain in the current environment, maybe scan through the book and try to have some understanding of what are some of the things which are important in terms of supply chain management. As you scan through them, keep an eye on the leadership style. Keep an eye on the infrastructure of the suppliers. Keep an eye on your own infrastructure. Keep an eye on the changing consumer demand. Of course, keep a keen eye on technology, 5G, AI, these type of things, skill set, future demand. Keep an eye on future demand. So if you have some idea of these things, link it with the previous discussions where we were talking about various things. For example, design. You can link design in the supply chain, and so on. Important activities, what are those? You can look in these: suppliers, account payable, warehousing, order fulfillment, sharing customers, forecasting. So essentially everything in the, from start to end, whatever it takes to start the product to make it finish product, everything is important. uh, Example, they have given some examples in the book and slides. I would say you should look at the examples like Kamla mentioned: hospitals, health industry, supply chain issue in that. I think that is very good. If you just run a simple Google search, you are going to find so many stories, because so many countries are having issue with the supply chain management in the health. uh, Doctors are dying, people who are, nurses, health staff, they are dying because they don't have the equipment, and so on. And many times it is not because that the country does not have the money. Many times it is just the product is short. So I think that those type of examples of supply chain we should look at. Of course, the book and the slides are old. They are just, give us some idea what are some of the things we should think about. And please participate in the discussion wherever you get some chance, some idea comes in your mind about supply chain or the slides you are looking at. Please tell us if that happens. Yeah, react to sudden changes in parts availabilities, new type of parts, 3D printing, please. 3D 3D printing, for example, that is interesting one, in terms of parts availabilities, how parts availability is going to get disrupted because of these new ways of making or manufacturing or producing parts and those type of things. Currency rates, fluctuation, different economies, um, you should think about that. Uh, this is just a second year course. In your third year course, you would maybe look into other courses which will go in detail about economics related courses, um, marketing related courses, distribution and so on. You should be able to get a better hang of these things when you do them. And then in the forthcoming slides they are talking about various, they have segmented various areas in supply chain management. Essentially it is about trying to understand that how you can minimize the time, how you can, for example, Kamla was mentioning wastage of time, wastage of material, wastage of resources in some previous discussion. So you can link it with that, because essentially you are trying to minimize those things in the supply chain. The better you can do without compromising the quality, without compromising the trust of the consumer, the better is your chance. The relationship between you and your supplier, that becomes very important. Personal relationship, networking, trust. These things become very important to make the supply chain run better. Always on the lookout for new ideas, innovation, new materials. Always understanding what the competition is doing. That is very important. Your competition. Who are they sourcing their products from? What are the new ideas under development? Uh, you want to have some keen eye on that, so you can always upgrade your supply chain. So it is a constant process. Companies, uh, keep an eye on. This is an interesting topic in supply chain: make or buy. So in the supply chain, various things are there, various products, various services. Which ones you should do yourself? Which ones you should outsource? Can anyone give any example of any outsourcing activity, please, based on your experience, based on whatever, if someone can give some outsourcing example from your business or your observation, that would be nice if someone can do that. But of course I'm not going to wait. I don't think you guys are in the talking mode today, so I will just continue. But if something comes to your mind, please go ahead and tell us. So make or buy decision. What should you do yourself? What you should outsource? That is important. You can look at these details. What is the, what are some of the reasons for making? Why you should make? It will lower the cost. You will own the copyright. You will know how the quality is. Uh, you will have better control. You can do it whenever you want. You can stop it whenever you want. You have more like those type of controls. It is easy for you to make an upgrade. It is easy to inspect. It is easy to monitor. You will create a skill set. If you are good in making, you can also sell it to other people, not just make for yourself, make it for others also. Yeah, so for example, companies like Vicinco, they used to, I'm not sure how much they are in the plastic now because of these bans and restriction. Please check what is their status. But They were making it for themselves also, plastics, and they were also selling it. Yeah, so both things they were doing, because of course they were good in that. They had economies of scale and scope. So you can think about that. Yeah, so but you can read the details in your own time. Reasons for buying, why you should not make it, why should you should buy. You want to focus on the core activities. You want to focus on things which excite you, which are important. You don't want to do everything in the supply chain of your product or service. You don't want to do that. You don't want to overspread yourself and then you become very thin and you cannot really master some craft. So you want to focus on some core activities, and then maybe the other activities you can outsource or ask other peoples to make it for you. And you ask the people who have built some competency. So if they have some competency in that, they will be able to sell it to you at a lower cost, even at a lower cost than you would do it yourself. So for example, biscuits, snacks, many things which we consume from the local grocery stores, they come from other countries like Trinidad. Why we cannot make it on our own? What is the problem? uh, because even if we make it, the cost is more, and even if we import it from some other country, the cost is less. So at the end of the day, business is going to sell what costs less at a reasonable quality. Consumer wants to pay less. These slogans are very good, buy Jamaica and buy whatever, but at the end of the day, a consumer is going to buy what is more comfortable, convenient, affordable at a given price range. So those are some of the things which are considered when companies are looking at reason for buying outsourcing. Again, outsourcing, I think you can link it with the discussion which we had. Ethical issues in supply chain. Uh, the earlier few points Kamla gave us when she said that many issues are being, uh, they are being highlighted in the supply chain because of this pandemic and so on. They were like hiding earlier. Many of them are ethical related issues. The example I gave you about corruption and having the ventilators on the paper but not in the physical sense, that is example of ethical issues in supply chain. You can look at the finer details in your own time, please. Standardization, that is very important. Standardize everything, in terms of even the get every all the documentation. uh, Standardization is very important in supply chain management. Not just supply chain management, even when you are making a small product, even if it is one product or one service, standardization is the thing which is going to minimize the cost and so on. Think about these like when you have to eat, do you eat when you have to eat, do you make or do you buy? How do you make that decision? uh, well, you will make if you have time, if you have energy, if you have interest. If you don't have other things to do, you will make food yourself. If you are busy, you have work, you have exams, you have school, you have family, you have everything going on, and you have less time, then you will say I will buy. So you will maybe buy food. So when you are buying, you will see, how much can I afford to pay. If I go in a restaurant and eat something, at least it is going to cost me maybe 3,000 Jamaican dollar. On the other hand, if I just go to Burger King, KFC, something like that, fast food, just like that, maybe 500, 600, 700, something like that, I can buy something reasonable on that. So, but what is the cost? Health cost, yeah. But look at how they manufacture. They standardize. Burger King, they have standardized the process. So that is why, because they have standardized, it is easy for them to bring the cost down. at a reasonable price you can buy, or you can think about patty if that is even cheaper than the fast food patties or something other like that. Generally speaking, they would have standardized to bring the cost down, yeah, and easy for them to replicate. Same thing for parts in the car, parts of the laptop, standardize the process. And in that standardizing the process, they always find how they can minimize the time to make the product, minimize the time to for the service. Same way you can think about, Burger King, KFC. They minimize as you come, you place the order, in just by the time you reach the window to collect, if you are drive through, the product is almost ready or it is just coming out. Yeah. Of course, it is not healthy, but just trying to explain standardization and stuff like that. Yeah, the issues between if you should have more suppliers or you should have few suppliers, you should think of that in the discussion. I gave you some pointers, but you need to think about in your own time based on your. Of course, it has a lot to do with what type of business you have. Uh, in some businesses, you have to have multiple suppliers. In others, it is okay if you have just one supplier or two. In terms of management, trust. This is my favorite, but you can look at the other ones also. Again, in your own time, this is not anything hard. You should be able to get a hang of this. Electronic procurement. Yes, this is coming in big, especially nowadays. Advancements in technologies. Should not say advancement. More use of technology is making people do many things online which they were not doing earlier. So now they are doing it online. So e-procurement is interesting to look at, but a lot of progress has happened in that. uh, you should look into, what are some of the challenges of supply chain Amazon is facing. I did not run that search, I should have, but I think it is good for you guys to understand, like, these big companies like Amazon, successful companies. So just run some search Amazon supply chain management issues, or just write supply chain management Amazon. I'm sure something is going to come up, and try to link it with the discussion and try to have some overall ideas. More importantly, you should think that how they are minimizing those challenges. We all know the challenges. We know the challenges, what the challenges would be. It's similar challenges, the type of challenges we are facing at work, at school, similar challenges in supply chain also. But what are they doing to minimize those challenges? I think that is something which you should reflect on. So maybe they will standardize a lot of jobs as we were. Yes, Kamala, you want to say something? Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Just picking up on what Shelley had said with the company, I think it's Quality Incorporations, that they did their first shipment to the US last week or about 2 weeks ago. This week in the news, Wisynco was featured as they have started making medical spacers out of plastic bottles. So this is they've entered in this new market because they have realized that there is a shortage of spacers and KPH for persons who have respiratory illnesses and they need to have these inhalers or these spacers. They have actually created just the plastic bottles, punching the holes at the bottom and having those bottles used as spacers. So this is a new supply chain now for KPH and of course for the other hospitals.
Excellent, and thank you very much for this. I'm loving this Wasinko example because I'm really very interested in that company. I think that is exciting place, and see what they are doing. Very good example, and I was not aware of this. And think about the possibilities, in the future. How, even after uh, COVID-19, they would be maybe one of the pioneers in doing that in Jamaica or something like that. I don't know if that is true or not. I'm just thinking that they must be one of the new ones. So uh, that can be very interesting for their businesses. So as as they might be losing some sales or something because of the restriction on plastic and so on, because of sustainable development and so on, environment friendly and government policies and so on, they are shifting into this. This is an opportunity for them to make something for these medical related stuff and so on. And they have the space, they have the things, they have the equipment, they can buy the equipment, they can get their staff who is already into this production into some type of training, and it is very easy for them to switch. Relatively easy, I should not say very easy, relatively easy for them to switch than from someone else who would be building from scratch. So this is very interesting. Please look into that that example. So Kamla gave us the name of the company which Shelly was talking, and Kamla also gave us the example of Bicinco. So just run a Google search Bicinco and what they are doing, and read on that. And don't just limit yourself to what is happening in Jamaica. Look across the globe what is happening, how various companies are going into manufacturing or producing medical related things, and how they are doing very well. You know, they are doing exceptionally well, making good amount of money. Vendor selection, I briefly spoke on that, like how you are going to select their trust, their past performance, their ability to meet the deadlines, all those type of things you should think about. Uh, so how you are going to selecting, is it cost based? Are you trying to minimize the cost? Are you trying to differentiate your product or service? You want to be one of your kind, one of the kind in the market. Whatever your strategies, that is going to influence your decision how you select the vendor. This is an interesting one, just for a quick review. So when you are selecting a vendor, supplier who is going to supply whatever you want, you can have your own, you know, variables. Like what are you looking at? Maybe you are looking at timeliness, that you think that it should be delivered on time, before time, on time, never late. Maybe that can be one. Maybe you are thinking about, about quality. Maybe you are thinking about the facility to reorder at a faster pace, reducing the time between the order and between when you order and when you receive. Uh, Maybe that is something which you want to look at. So you will create your own, you know, criteria. If you look at this example, you know, they are talking about research, they are talking about capability, flexibility or technical capabilities, again capability, distribution capability. This is very important. Distribution, I think did not said I did not say anything on that. Distribution. So in the supply chain, who are your distributors? That is going to be key, very important. Distributor, who is going to distribute? So that is why you would see that all these candies and biscuits and good ones, international reputation biscuits and snacks and these type of things, who are the suppliers of, who are the distributors of those in Jamaica, let's say. It will be always these big 2 3 4 companies. They are going to be the one who are supplying majority of them. uh, their majority of Pepsi. Who is the distributor of Pepsi? Who is the distributor of Coca-Cola? Who is the distributor of Cadbury, Mars, Bounty? These type of things. Every time in any country, not just Jamaica, in any country, these will be the top distributors of that country, because they have a very good, you know, network and chain, and they have vehicles, and they have staff who know how to, you know, go in, how to get access to, they have access to all of the country, uh, if not all major parts of the country. They have the relationship with the markets, they have the relationship with the small shops, they have the ability to give things on credit because they are big companies, so they can afford to give things on credit and stuff like that. And this is what small businesses require. So you can think about that. So from that you will have facilities, location, information system capabilities, or, you know, IT related capabilities, or working from home capability, whatever you are looking for. You can environmental compliance. This is becoming more and more important. Sustainable development goals, environmental friendly. I think we have been talking about it again and again in various forms and shapes. You guys have been giving examples also in the earlier classes. So you can think about that environment. But
So,
anyways, you will have, yes, please go ahead, Kendra. Yes, please.
sir, I read an article about Walmart coming up with a new express delivery service. This is in light of COVID. It was just recently rolled out since April. So what they're now offering in order to supply persons with merchandise, food and stuff, they're now offering a 2-hour express delivery, which is a good thing for them because what it now means is that persons are at home and they will order things from Walmart. What it means now is that Walmart will add a $10 mark on the 2-hour delivery, but it's a win-win because persons are getting their merchandise within 2 hours. Walmart is also increasing their profits. That was just recently, since April.
Excellent example. Thank you. And please stop me anytime whenever you have to say something related with the discussion. Please stop me right away, and so you can contribute. Thanks very much for this. So this is very interesting point. Walmart. So companies like Amazon, Walmart is very big. So our friend gave good example. So please run a Google search and read in detail a little bit, even if for 5 minutes. Not going to take more than 5 minutes. Just scan through the story, see what they are doing, have a look on this, whatever is happening. So from there you will develop your own criteria. Whatever yours is, you don't have to follow this, and then you will give weightage to that, and then you can have some score, and then that can help you, how to decide which vendor, which supplier you are going for. But just like forecasting, you don't just look at numbers in these calculations. Also, these are just numbers. At the end of the day, there are other things, because again it depends on the leadership style. Some leaders leaders depend on gut feeling, although there is nothing good in the gut, but gut feeling. They because if they have been successful on relying on their gut feeling, then maybe they will just go with that. But some data should be there to give you some guideline who to select, and so forth. Logistics, that is what I meant when I was talking about distributors. In other words, they have better logistics. So if you have good logistic, you will be getting the contract. Distribution system in the country, uh, I don't know. I need to read on that. Is government of Jamaica doing something on our railroads? How do we use our railway infrastructure for business, for manufacturing, for transportation of goods? Do we use it or not? I need to run some search. But if someone knows anything about that, you can tell us now, or later you can tell me, like, how government of Jamaica, what is government of Jamaica plan to use railroads? Because sometimes when I'm driving outside of Kingston and so on, I do see some railway tracks, but they never stop me. So they don't really work, but maybe they work, maybe for some something. So that, I think, maybe that is one thing which can be used. Think about railroad, people coming on rail from Portmore to Kingston, sitting on a rail and coming here. You might not like the idea, but it will decrease cost, it will decrease time, and other countries do that. So maybe that is, but I'm sure people have looked at it, and there must be some reasons why they don't want to use railroads. But think about that. Just in time, you can think about that. Just in time, as you need it, just in time. I think we spoke about these McDonald's, KFC, Burger King. What is that? That is just in time type of activity they have. Like, for example, look at this one. I am on McDonald's website. You can read it in your own time, but you know this already, how made for you works. So they are talking about made for you. Here is how made for you works. From the second you order, our people at different preparation stations around the kitchen begin toasting the bun, adding ingredients and packaging your food and so on and so forth. Yeah. And then they have some details about that, but they have marketed as they are marketing as made for you. Yeah. Custom made for you. But it is very traditional, it is very standardized also, but it is made for you because every a little thing, if you don't want salad they will take out the salad, if you want to add salad they will add it a little, but still it is very traditional, it is very standardized, but still made for you. This is interesting. And all these businesses, you should, although this is not topic of discussion, we are talking about supply chain, just in time, these type of things. But look at this one, social responsibility. Yeah, this tag, companies around the globe are adding this tag to their websites. Almost any good business, you are going to find some tab or tag on their website talking about social responsibility or environment friendliness or sustainable development. You know, this is what they are doing. And in the social responsibility, see, they are talking about environmental protection and so on. You can click it and see, what is what in that. For just in time, if you are so supply chain management, this is what I wanted to say. I have posted a couple of videos, you can watch them in your own time. Most importantly, I think what I really want is that you look into what are the issues supply chain is facing nowadays during, for example, this pandemic. What are some of the issues in any business? It does not matter which type of business. You can look at health, you can look at automotive, anything you like, banking, whatever you like. But what I would request is that you look at what are the issues they are facing, and how they are solving those issues. Shelley gave interesting example. Toilet was good example. Uh, Faye gave a good example of Walmart. Amazon was good example. Kamla gave couple of good examples in the earlier part and also in the later part of the discussion. And I'm sure other people also have your own examples. You're just shy to share it with us, but so find what are the obstacles and what are these companies doing to minimize. Because if you realize, Faye gave example of Walmart and she also explained what are some of the things they are doing to minimize those obstacles. I think that if you can do that, that would be nice. Next thing I would want to discuss is just in time. Nothing really to really go in depth over there. I have posted couple of videos, please watch them. Or just in time and outsourcing. I'm going to scan through the slides to see if there is something substantial I would want to talk about. For just in time, I have posted this case, just in time for holidays. You do not have to do it, but if you are interested, you can read this case. It will take like 10 minutes of reading and try to think your own solution. Uh, Generally, I give cases in the coursework and so on, but this time for this course, we have done the coursework, but you can look into it. You will learn something interesting from that. Even before I look at just in time, let me look at outsourcing. Yeah. So outsourcing is very much linked with some of the things we were talking about in the supply chain management. Yeah. For example, make or buy. What is that? That is part of outsourcing. Because if you decide that you are going to buy it, that means you are outsourcing. And outsourcing again, a lot of skills you would see. Think about your own business, your own work, wherever you are working, or the places you are familiar with. Think about them. A lot of activities they are outsourcing. They are not doing in-house. They are outsourcing those activities. For example, how they are going to communicate, which platform they are going to use. Very few companies, if any, are going to make their own, platform or something like that. They are outsourcing this activity. Information security, many times they are outsourcing that activity also, small businesses particularly. You can think about that. Let's look at some of the stories maybe. So look at this one. This is Bangkok Post, good daily of Bangkok. Coronavirus shakes up the outsourcing industry, shakes it up, yeah, for obvious reasons. Uh, let's look at this. Please look at this highlighted section. Coronavirus is permanently shaking up the global outsourcing industry as lockdowns from Bangalore to Manila prompt firms to reshore jobs and with AI to move further away from needing humans at all. This is very interesting, to move further away from needing humans at all. One more time, to move further away from needing humans at all. So many jobs which we are doing, they will be outsourced. I just gave example of my own job. And I told you guys that if I were in charge, I would have outsourced all these type of lectures which you are having. I would have outsourced. I would only not outsource if I cannot find someone, if there is no one. In that 1 month, if I could not find anyone, or I did not find anyone I like, then I would continue with the local people. Otherwise, there is no need. There is no need at all. This was a good opportunity for us to save money, both sides, the people who are doing the course and the university. So think about this. Coronavirus is permanently shaking up the global outsourcing industry as lockdowns and with AI, artificial intelligence, to move further away from needing humans at all. So guys, it is high time, whatever we are doing, all of us, me and you, we need to have some skills right now or start developing some skills which are not very easily replaced. Something we need to do. So for example, this one, having their staff work from home is difficult because of rules governing the handling of sensitive material, such as financial transactions for bank customers from Scotland to San Francisco. Yeah. So having their staff work from home, handling the sensitive material, I think we spoke about that in the earlier part of the discussion. So these are some of the challenges. So you can read it in detail. I don't want to go in all the article, but coronavirus is shaking up the outsourcing industry. You should reflect on it based on your own work, your own experience, wherever you work. Try to understand. And if you are, let's say you are manager, and if there are some jobs which can be outsourced and you can, get rid of human beings and not human beings, get rid of, your workers, and you can outsource the job for a lesser money, you should think about that. I'm not saying you should just jump onto this, because you need to think about it. Like, there are other things. Once you outsource, you are compromising things also. For example, quality, your control, and so on the thing. So you have to look at it, and then the things, your core business, you maybe want to hone those skills on your own and get more comfortable with the core skills yourself. And the things which you can outsource, why not outsource them if it makes sense for your business and so on. Companies expected to outsource more work due to COVID-19. They are expected to outsource more work, and needless to elaborate on that. Again, this one is very reliable website, Economic Times. Yeah, so you can read it in detail. For example, 48% of business leaders already acknowledge a need to optimize the workforce environment. 48%. That is very, very big. And what is optimization? Essentially saving cost. Yeah, minimizing waste, as Kamla was explaining in the last discussion. Minimizing waste, maximizing, your the output from your input. So you can look at this one also in your own time. Companies expected to outsource more work due to COVID-19. And if they are successful in that, if they gain good advantage from that, if that experiment is beneficial after the coronavirus, don't you think that they will continue outsourcing it? They will continue outsourcing it. Yeah. They will only come back to their earlier workforce if there is some issues, but those issues, as Kamla mentioned in the earlier part of the discussion, stress test. Please Google search, understand it, what is the meaning of this in terms of supply chain management. This one, I think you will like this one more. This is linked with our own country. JAMPRO supports strong effort to protect outsourcing employees and industry during COVID-19. So JAMPRO is supporting to protect outsourcing employees and industry, these BPOs and these type of things. Although I'm not a big fan, but we do acknowledge that a lot of money comes from BPOs and these type of things. So yes, it is not something to, it is not real productivity the way I understand it, but there is a conflicting viewpoint. Some people think that these BPOs and those things are good for the countries. Then there are other scholars who think that it is good, but there are other things where government should emphasize more. These type of jobs, even if it is BPO, it should be some skilled type of labor, not just answering the phone calls. And although that is important, I'm not trying to belittle any job. Every job has its benefit, of course, but this is what is our condition. So because of our own environment, because we depend on, there are some sectors on which we depend on, for example, tourism. And so BPO is also kind of that sector where, because a lot of people gain some type of employment. So they want to protect outsourcing employees and industry during COVID-19. Again, this is a new story, May 2. So please read it. Let me see if we can find something interesting from this. I think this one is interesting. You can look at this highlighted section. You can read the details in your own time, but look at this one. The outsourcing industry in Jamaica has over 60 companies that currently employs over 40,000 people who work in sectors like healthcare, finance, logistics, telecom, IT, and provide overall customer service. So once you know these figures, once you know that 40,000 people are working in these sectors, then you say that yes, BPO is important for Jamaica because a lot of people work here, so we don't want to close that industry. So in our context, everything is in its context. So BPOs become important because we could not create other jobs. We could not create other jobs for people who are graduating, so they can have not a lot of manufacturing production is going on. So in that context, we said, okay, BPO is the job, and because of that, now we have like 40,000 people working in these sectors. But anyways, I'm not trying to talk against BPOs or anything. The importance of BPO sector is undeniable, bringing in over 700 million USD to Jamaican economy in 2019. So in our situation, this is a lot of money, and but in the long run, we need to think in the long run, because this 40,000 number is going to keep on growing maybe. And the pay scale of those people is, as the number will grow, the pay which people get on working for BPO is going to go less. So it is demand and supply. More people available for BPO jobs, less, even the pay is going to come less, unless it is some skilled BPO. So in one of the discussions I was talking with you guys earlier when we were meeting face to face, BPOs in terms of lawyers giving BPO type of service. So you call and the lawyer is there. and the lawyer is giving you, advice or something like that, or a doctor, you know. If you run a Google search, you will see, how doctors are running these. So prescription, for example, you just go on the app, you type whatever it is, and they prescribe the drugs and so on and so forth. So you can think about that. Interesting article in our situation. You can read all of it. Smart sustainable manufacturing benefits of outsourcing. Smart sustainable manufacturing. Yeah, standardization and those type of things you can talk about. So for example, improved productivity and efficiency. Productivity will improve, efficiency will improve. Greater flexibility. Yeah, you get that. Reduce cost. We spoke about that. Encourage and innovation. We spoke about that. And what are some of the risk factors? Quality control. We spoke about that. Reputation risk. We spoke about that when we were talking about trust and those type of things. Yeah. But of course, if you will read in detail, you will see some examples also. So you can look at these type of things in your own. As a matter of fact, you should be reading these type of websites, especially if you are interested in production, manufacturing, plant manager, operation manager, these type of jobs. If that is what you want to do, you should look into this. And this is not necessarily, even if it is your industry's banking or insurance or something, still you can benefit from this. Because think about this, even if it is a bank, they want to do something on productivity, flexibility, reducing cost, encouraging innovation. But the thing is that how to encourage innovation and do those type of things, creating a culture which can afford some type of failure and so on. So you can think about these things. Okay, should you be outsourcing? 8 signs to look for. Should you be outsourcing or not? Again, this is very reputable website, Forbes magazine. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that. So let's look at, they are talking about outsourcing. Should you outsource or not? When you should outsource. So innovation is needed. Yeah. When your own capacities are maxed out and you want to focus on core, you would want to maybe outsource. Inability to deal with specialized tasks. There are some specialized tasks. You don't have the capacity to do that. You should outsource. There is no advantage to do in-house task. Even if you do in-house task and you build some competency, there is no concrete advantage from your competition. You are not really having any competitive strategic advantage over your competition. Then you can outsource. Scaling too fast. Yeah, too fast. Skills and needs do not match. This is interesting. What are the skills a company has and what is the need from the market? If they don't match, then you would want to outsource because you don't have the skills to meet the needs. So either you will upgrade your skills, that is going to take some time. You will go through upgrading your skills over a period of time. You will develop those skills. In that time, you can outsource the activity. Prices are off. When you do it yourself, that is another price. When you outsource it, you are getting less price. Maybe that is behind on deadlines. There are so many things you have to do. Yeah, outsource the activity. So now you have your work, you have your work obligations, you have home, you have this and that, and then you also have some coursework assignment. So you just outsource your coursework assignment. Of course, it is not a good practice, but some people do that. And then they can get caught. Okay, look at this one. How outsourcing customer service can help your business survive the COVID-19 crisis. So on one hand, we said something not very positive about BPO, but then on the same breath, BPOs are important because some of the services they keep the businesses alive. One of them is customer service, fast, accurate, timely, quick uh, customer service. Recently, I had to make a customer service call, and someone, I don't know in which country, they picked up the phone. One of the banks, I wanted some information like the Swift code and those type of things for international transfer. So I called the line. It took like half an hour. That the conversation was very difficult. He was not understanding me, of course, and I was not understanding him. So that was interesting and funny. And it is the leading bank in Jamaica. Yeah, don't want to name the bank, but we all know. CIO, this is a very good website. Spend on that. Spend some time on that CIO website. IT outsourcing is back. Again, they are talking in the current circumstances, so you can look at the details. 10 ways coronavirus will impact your outsourcing strategy, again from CIO. If you are interested in this topic, you should read about that, what they are saying in your own time, of course, and try to link it with your own business. Try to see wherever you work, what things you are outsourcing, what are the challenges you are facing. Your competition, what are the things your competition, if you are a bank, your competition is another bank, what are the things they are outsourcing, what are the things or skills they are building their competencies. Technology is one thing where banks are investing heavily. So okay, so counter view, there is a little counter view also. So this is Guardian, very famous news. So look at this one. Outsourcing the coronavirus crisis to business has failed. Reflect on this. So this is a contrasting view. Outsourcing from a very credible source. So we should not take it lightly. Outsourcing the coronavirus crisis to business has failed, and NHS staff know it. This is the national health of the country. Okay, look at this. Handing out contracts out to firms like Serco and G4S is now second nature to those in power. We need to build state capacity. So please read this in detail. You know what happened in UK and all that in terms of coronavirus and so on. So this is where I wanted to focus, the highlighted section. We need to build state capacity. So state capacity, capability, that is very important. You cannot outsource, keep on outsourcing, even if you are gaining some advantage from that, even if you can minimize the cost by outsourcing. But you don't want to outsource like everything. You have to have some core areas where you are exceptionally good at. If you are interested, you can read this in detail. But essentially, there are some things which happened with Serco and G4S. This is just an example. Too much contracts gone to firms like these, and then the state goes in the problem because they cannot deliver. Yeah, because when you are outsourcing, you are dependent on the other party. Just like you are going through COVID-19 crisis for the first time, they are also going through COVID-19 crisis for the first time. Yeah, I love this one, again from supply chain. Top 10 global outsourcing companies. So you should know which companies are outsourcing. If I ask you, can you name top outsourcing companies? IBM is one outsourcing company, and so on. So you can look at this list, Accenture and so on. You can look at, just for your knowledge. Look at this one. Outsourcing can free up valuable space, time, and resources for companies, allowing them to focus on core areas of their business instead of putting time and effort into something that can be done more efficiently elsewhere. Yeah, so space, time, resources, and focus on core areas, and putting and time and effort into something that can be done more efficiently elsewhere. So if someone else can do it more efficiently and you want to focus on your core, you want to save some time, you want to think about that. But still it is a challenge. It is a challenge. It is a challenge. So it is a difficult decision for businesses what to outsource, and especially in terms of their strategic advantage for in the long run. It can be a challenge, but again, you can't do everything in-house. As a matter of fact, outsourcing can build a very good business, because think about it. Uber company, we spoke about it multiple times in our discussion when we were meeting face to face. Uber, Amazon, Walmart, these type of companies, what they do, they outsource. What Amazon do, outsource. Things are coming from other places, and that is the channel which they are using to. They are not making those things. They are not manufacturing those things, generally speaking. But now Amazon is going into new businesses. So a lot of businesses, I think it is just a matter of time when Amazon will have a Amazon bank, when Facebook will have a bank. It might seem a little strange right now, but it is a big possibility. They have the data and they have so much information, especially as we start using just the cards and those type of things. When we are so card, when you do a purchase using the card, everything is recorded. Everything is recorded. What did you buy? Where did you buy? All those type of things. So they have a lot of data. So you would want to think about that. And look for some examples of your own interest in that. I found this example: largest public utility to outsource hundreds of jobs amid COVID-19. Hundreds of jobs. Yeah. So companies are outsourcing a lot of jobs. You will find, you don't have to look at this particular example. You can look at, just run a Google search. You will know how many people are losing their work because of outsourcing and so on. Yeah, so it can replace, outsourcing can replace entire purchasing, finance, marketing, everything. You can outsource. But look at this one: making the right decision may be the difference between the success and failure. So that is what I was talking about when I was saying that outsourcing, yes, you can outsource anything, but you have to decide what really to outsource and what to keep in-house. So that is what they are saying, that is going to make the difference between success and failure. Yeah. They try to explain what is outsourcing. You can look at that. They try to give some examples of outsourcing, like call centers, BPOs, and stuff like that. You can think about that. So outsourcing can be done in any type of area in the supply chain management, in terms of getting the raw material, in terms of how you deal with the customer, in terms of the training which you are going to give to your workers, in terms of upgrading their skills, in terms of distribution, logistics. Many times distributors, people don't distribute their own stuff. They find a good distributors who have good network, good logistics, and then they outsource the activity. It makes sense. Human resource, sometimes even in local environment, you will see that many times the jobs are outsourced through these companies like PwC, and those PwC would put an advertisement for the job. They will do all the paperwork. They will do the interviews, everything based on the requirement, and then the company can get the right candidate using that. So these are good. They are good. There is benefit to outsourcing also, of course, but you just have to be careful that in the long run, you need to see that you outsource the right things, not the ones which were your core, uh, and so on. They have this example of Sony, but I think you should look into the outsourcing example of Walmart, as Faye mentioned, and Amazon, how they go about that. A lot of products were coming from China, and there were some issues on Amazon because of that. You should read in detail what were the issues. The issues were related with the cost, pricing, and so on. So Amazon was having some checks, and then they delisted some of the sellers because they were using some unethical practices to sell their products and so on. So using the platform of Amazon. So you should look into these challenges, which you will find when you will search for supply chain management issues at Amazon and these big companies. You will find those challenges, but you would have to find some time and read. What are some of the risks? What are some of the challenges? I showed you a couple of stories. We had a general discussion on what can be some of the challenges. You can look into them. Quality, I think, is one challenge. If you ask me what is the big challenge, I think it is quality, essentially, the way I understand it. But you have to develop your own understanding, and you have to see what are the risks of outsourcing in your because they say, self done is well done. When you do something yourself, it is done in a different way. If you ask someone else to do it for you, it will be different. Although they have equipment, and it is just like car wash. You take your car to wash, so those people have the equipment, they have more experience because they do it all the time. And but still, sometimes you won't be very much satisfied from the car wash. You will say, oh, the person left it here, left some dirt there, this is not done properly, this is, yeah. On the other hand, if you do it your own self yourself, you might do a better job, but it will take a lot of time, something like half day or something like that for you to do it. But yes, you will wash it better, but at what cost? You spend more time, you could use that time somewhere else. Maybe your hands are some, you got hurt, or your hands got something because you are not very well trained to wash cars, so uh, you did something to your hands or something like that. So yes, you will end up washing maybe better, but it will be a challenge. So one way to minimize that challenge is you do both. So you outsource the car wash service. So you get the car wash done by someone. So they take off the major dirt, and then after that you spend 1 hour or 2 hours on the car, and you take out the finer details and you clean it up. So then you will be spending less time, and then the job quality would be better too. So that is an interesting collaboration of outsourcing and then doing some work on it yourself. You can think about that in your own time. Yeah, this activity I have asked you to do yourself. So identify what are some of the risks, challenges in supply chain management, outsourcing, just in time, the type of things we discussed, what are the challenges companies are facing, and then try to read how they are minimizing those challenges, what are the things they are doing. I think that is what you should be doing. What are the advantages? We know that cost saving, focus on core competencies, gaining outside technologies if you don't have in-house technology, because to buy the technology you would have to invest heavily. So if you don't have that, you can gaining outside experience, all these type of things you can, and try to add to other advantages which we mentioned in our discussion. Uh, what are some of the disadvantages? Increased cost, transportation cost, logistic, loss of control, creating future competition, because you have outsourced the activity. If they become very good, they might start a next business against you in your competition. So that can happen also. Negative impact on employees, they don't give the pride. Pride comes with doing things on your own. Where does pride come from? Pride, national pride. What is national pride? National pride comes that, oh, we make our own goods. We make our own drinks, we make our own sweets, candies. We are self-sufficient. uh, we can do things on our own. We are not reliant. That is where the pride comes from in a nation. When you know that you can do it yourself, there is no problem. Even if you go down, because you know you can do it, you will come back, because you have confidence in your skills. If you don't have, when do you have no confidence? Because when you have outsourced every activity, you did not had anything, you did not do it with your hands. That is the difference between a self-made person and the person who has acquired wealth through family and so on. Yeah. So same thing, negative impact on employees, workers. What will negative impact? Because when they see everything is outsourced, they don't get that thing from the company that, oh, we are, unless they are very good in their core. So for Amazon is very exceptionally good in their core business. They have exceptionally good technologies. They have exceptionally good platforms. They use data driven. It's not human selection. It's not human decision making. It is data driven decision making. It is artificial intelligence. They use it. They use high tech, high end algorithms. Uh, that is why when we search for something on Amazon, it starts telling us you can buy this or you can buy that, or that type of thing. That comes from their investment on data, on these technologies. So that issue which I mentioned, quality can be issue, so that can be minimized by proper audits. You have you have proper metrics. You are looking at trying to improve the businesses. Of course it can be done. It can't be done in a day or two. It's a long journey. So you commit yourself to your business improvement, business continuity, and so on. And essentially, how much passionate you are with the job, how much passionate you are with your business to meet the needs of your customer, your interest, your passion. The more it is, the less you will feel the obstacles. Yes, obstacles will come as I've asked you to read, so you will read obstacles, challenges, which these companies are facing in terms of just in time, in terms of supply chain management, in terms of outsourcing, make or buy. Yes, obstacles will come, but the more the more you are passionate with the business, that it will be easier for you to come over those. Because look at these, Alibaba, Jack Ma, Honorable Jack Ma, how many obstacles he faced, but because of his interest in the business, he was able to overcome those. Tesla guy, you can think about that. Even Amazon, Facebook guy, these they become so big because of their tremendous obsession with their business. They were not looking at backup plans. They were going all out. Now, for example, look at this, just in time. So managers are addressing three issues which are fundamental to operation management. Eliminate waste, less wastage in terms of raw material, less wastage in terms of time spent. Remove variability up and down. That is where standardization comes in. And improve throughput. If you don't understand the term throughput, please run a Google search and try to understand what it is about. Then they go on and explaining what how we can eliminate waste. There are so many technologies which can be used. For example, some companies use observation, some companies use laser technology, some companies use vision, even companies like Juicy Patty and so on. They also look at there is someone looking at the size and the shape of the patty and so on. Although they have the machines which are doing the cutting and everything, but still sometimes something can happen. variation. So they look at that, eliminate a cost. This is interesting. The 5S. You should look into that. Sort, simplify, shine, standardized, and sustain. Continuity. Keep on doing it, sustaining the business. And then they have explained it in detail what it is. Uh, when we were talking about suppliers, we were talking about variability up and down in terms of supplier. If the supplier would be consistent in giving the quality which we want. So this is what it is talking. This slide is talking about sources of variability. Where the variability can come from. Essentially, in the supply chain, you are trying to you try to break supply chain into different parts, and every part you see that, have I eliminated all wastage or not? Is there any variability or not? So you strengthen every part, and once you have strengthened every part, then whole product is strengthened. So for example, Toyota is a company which came up with these things. Japanese came up with all these terms, Kanban and just in time, and these quality principles which we talk about. It is Japanese who came up with these. So think about a Toyota or Honda for that argument. Why are Toyota and Honda are good, durable, uh, good vehicles for the long run? They are there for the long run. They don't die very easily. Yes, lately in the newer models you will see that Toyota and Honda would have some issues, but comparatively speaking, if you compare it with other car manufacturers, they are very robust in their build. So why Toyota is a Toyota? Because they work on every part which is used. They work on it. They try to make it to the best of their abilities, best of the standards they use, and so on. So then whole becomes good. Same way in the supply chain. Supply chain is as good as all the components used in the supply chain. If there is one loophole in the supply chain, it will have impact all the way to the customer, all the way how the product would be recycled, and so on. Yeah. So think about the sources of variability. They try to explain it in the concerns of suppliers. Diversification, we spoke about that. Scheduling, we were talking about it in the last discussion. Lead time, we were talking in the last discussion. Quality, lot sizes, these are some of the concerns which they would have. Yeah. So look into these things. If you don't understand some of the terminologies, please run a search and try to understand. For example, lot size. What is a lot size? These things might be important because your final exam is like multiple choice and so on. Most likely that is what the thinking is right now. So these type of terminologies might be important for you to think about. You need to link it in your own time, what this means, like distance reduction. I gave you example of KFC, Burger King, and so on. If you look at their floor, you would see that they are reduced the way they have laid out their floor. It is to reduce the distance, reduce the time which it takes from point A to point B, where they are going to do the bun, where they are going to put the fish, where they are going to put the salad, how and where they are going to fry the fries, where they are packaging, where is the order being placed, all of those things. It is linked with the design discussion. So we had a discussion on design, I think 2-3 weeks ago. So link that with this concept of distance reduction, just in time. Yeah. Essentially, they are trying to reduce the space inventory, because if you have so many things in the inventory, then you have more pressure to maintain it. But if you can just get just in time, it is more a fresh product, but the issue with just in time is that the supplier should be extremely reliable. Only then you can do just in time. Otherwise, you will have to stock something. So you should be very good in your transportation and everything, and the supplier should be also exceptionally good. Only then just in time works. Otherwise, it is not going to work. You will get delayed and stuff. That is why it is good to have a little inventory and something like. Try to look for words like what is buffer stock, what is lead time. These terminologies will, you can run some search on that. Setup cost. So this is what I referred to when I spoke about Toyota. I a while ago, Kanban and these type of things. So read on that. What are those? This is a visual representation of a Kanban. We also use it in our workplace sometimes, using our own innovation in this and so on. So Toyota is the one I mentioned. So they are essentially Toyota. Japanese are the people who came up with all these quality principles. For example, continuous improvement, empowerment, standardization. These are things which come from Toyota, Japanese. So they name this Toyota production system. So how is the production system of Toyota? But again, this is these are old slides, old book chapters. So I would want you to think about Walmart production system or procurement system, Walmart procurement system, Amazon procurement system. These type of companies, you should run some search and try to read some interesting articles which suits you, which you enjoy reading, and then see what is what. Essentially, you want to build a lean organization. Lean. Yeah, you can run some search for some pointers like what is Six Sigma and so on. So lean organization. What is lean? Minimizing the time, making it comfortable, easy for the consumer. That is what it is about. So develop partnership with suppliers. Partnership. Yeah. So this is interesting word. Partnership, collaboration, networking with the supplier. Good relationship. That is important. Educate supplier. Yeah. Think about this. Educating supplier. So when you will read on supply chain management and you will try to find what are some of the obstacles, challenges in supply chain, then as the manufacturer, producer, are they telling all that information, sharing all that information with the supplier? So whatever are the issues the company is facing, if they tell those issues, share those issues with the supplier, then the supplier has some chance to minimize those issues. That is one way of stress testing. Yeah, Kamla mentioned it earlier. Eliminate all but value adding activities. So any activity which does not add value, eliminate it. Develop employees, training, and all those type of things. Make job challenging, interesting, inspiring. So they increase knowledge, all those type of things. Build worker flexibility. But then companies don't do it and try to link it with the previous discussions in the previous sessions where you guys were talking about working from home, but the companies did not prepare us to work from home before coronavirus, and now coronavirus is here and then we have to work from home. All these type of challenges you can think about. Okay, so just like supply chain, I have posted, you have some slides, you can scan through that, but more important is to, if you want to understand the context of outsourcing and just in time, I think you should run some Google searches and try to understand what is happening in the current environment. Because as Kamla was mentioning, that these times has exposed so many challenges which were hidden earlier in supply chain, in just in time, in outsourcing, in other things, in layout, in forecasting, other things which we have been talking about. So you will learn a lot. You will have some practical understanding of what companies are doing to minimize those challenges. And if you continue that reading even beyond this semester, which you should, then over a period of time you will learn that, you know, companies did this, but it worked or it did not work. We can only know this in the longer period of time. You can know this in a longer period of time. So you should keep an eye on the companies which you like. So these are again these are old videos. If you want to watch them, please try to develop some understanding of what these are. Try to link this discussion with what you will read. Make note of the examples some of our friends gave. Shelly gave some example, Faye gave some examples, Kamla gave some examples. So read on that. Okay, Sasha is saying something. Diverse sourcing and digitization will be the key to build stronger supply chain. Okay, very good. Yeah, that was one of the headings in one of the articles we scanned through. So diverse sourcing and digitization, they might be some of the things to think about. So whatever you guys are doing, whatever type of job you are doing, try to understand how digitization can change your job, and try to learn that part of digitization from now. So if you start learning that type of digitization, then when the time comes on a broader scale, you will be able to do something. Yeah, the transition would be easier. Otherwise, you might get redundant or something like that because you did not prepare for the time in the future. So thank you very much, Sasha, and everyone. Thanks everyone for participating in the discussion and staying. Uh, that is it for today. We need to look at inventory, and then we are going to do some course conclusion, and that's it. So see you in the following session. Please have a restful evening. Bye bye.